Hello and welcome to the show. I'm Philip Selway and I'm taking time out from the wonderful world of Radiohead to house sit for Guy Garvey again. Now, in between watering the plants for Guy and dusting down his Toby Jug collection, I'll be playing some of my favourite music, so I hope you can stay with me for the next couple of hours. I started the show with Sheila and a Gig by PJ Harvey, and next up is a record for cat lovers everywhere. It's called I Call My Baby Pussycat, and it's by Parliament. All good, clean, innocent fun, that song, I'm sure. Well, actually, I'm not so sure, but it's a damn fine piece of music anyway. That was I Call My Baby Pussycat, and that was Parliament. Talking of fantastic music, at the end of last year, I was asked by The Independent to write a short piece on my favourite record of 2014. So I chose an album called No Deal by a Belgian artist called Melanie de Biasio. Now, if you've not had a chance to listen to this record, I'd highly recommend it. In the piece I wrote, my description of it was it sounded as though Billie Holiday had walked into the session for Mark Hollis's solo record. It is a fantastic record, and this song is called The Flow off No Deal by Melanie de Biasio. That was The Flow by Melanie de Biasio. Now, the Six Music Festival is coming up soon, up in Tyneside, and one of the bands who are playing, Sleater Kinney, who are back after nearly a decade of being away, and it's fantastic to hear their music and their new music. So next I'm going to play a song called Bury Our Friends, and this is off their album called No Cities to Love. So this is Sleater Kinney. That was Sleater Kinney and Bury Our Friends. Now, I'm in Radiohead, and our fourth record was called Kid A. And when we went out to tour with that record, we took a big blue tent out with us, and it played various places around the UK and around Europe. And I must admit, that's probably the closest I've ever come to camping and would want to come to camping, but it was a fantastic experience doing it. And the band that opened for us on that tour was Sigur Rós. It was amazing being able to see them every night. And so next I'd like to play one of their tracks off their album Tack. Now, I've done a quick poll on the pronunciation on the title, so I'm going to give it my best shot trying to pronounce it. I think it's called Hoppipola. It's by Sigur Rós.
This is Philip Selway
on BBC Radio
6 Music.
Now, the next record is one that kind of always stops me in my tracks whenever I hear it. It's by Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds. It was from his 1997 album called The Boatman's Call, and it's a song called Into My Arms. So here it is. It's Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds. Wow, as I said, it stops me in my tracks. That was Into My Arms by Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds. Now, one of my favourite records is by Bob Marley and the Wailers. It's Burning. And it's just one of those records where you listen to it and you listen to all the individual parts of it, the individual musicianship, the fact that Bob Marley, great songwriter, amazing performer and vocalist, incredible rhythm section. You take any of those elements in their own right, they are incredible. But then you put them together, and actually what is conjured up is something that's much greater than all those parts. And so you just have this sublime record. And this is a track off that record. It's called Small Axe. Now, on paper, On Your Own Again by Scott Walker and 911 is a Joke by Public Enemy are odd bedfellows, but somehow they kind of work for me, just bumping up against each other. The next song I've got is from somebody, well, his aunt is Alice Coltrane, and I think if you're thinking of heading off into music yourself with that kind of heritage behind you, you better make sure that you're good, and he certainly doesn't disappoint. Stephen Ellison, aka Flying Lotus, he released a new record last year called You're Dead. This is a track off it. It's called Dead Man's Tetris, and it features Captain Murphy and Snoop Dogg. Interestingly enough, Captain Murphy is another alter ego of Flying Lotus. So if you keep up all those alter egos, I'm sure you'll enjoy this song. Hold up, I bet you thinking. That was Dead Man's Tetris by Flying Lotus. Now, I'm a drummer, and the idea of trying to play with a dislocated shoulder sounds rather painful to me. That's exactly what the drummer from the next band has got to do this month, actually. This is Patrick Carney, who is in the Black Keys. They start a European tour later this month, and he recently dislocated his shoulder, and so I hope that's all falling back into place for him. They actually opened for Radiohead on one tour. We've been incredibly lucky with the bands who've done that for us, and this song is off their 2010 album called Brothers, and it's called Next Girl. That was Next Girl by the Black Keys. Another one of my favourite records of last year was called Liminal by the Acid. And actually, they are supposedly doing a remix of one of my songs at the moment called Around Again, which I'm very much looking forward to hearing. So if they're listening, please get it to me. So this one is called Basic Instinct, and it's the Acid. That was The Acid and Basic Instinct. Wow, hearing that ident makes me feel incredibly butch. So next song, not got much to say about it really, other than it is an incredible song. It's Dusty Springfield and Son of a Preacher Man. That was Son of a Preacher Man by Dusty Springfield. Now, the next record, I was originally going to say, I wonder what this artist has been up to, because I hadn't heard anything from him for a couple of years. But I've just been told he has a record coming out at the beginning of March. The record will be called Shedding Skin, and the artist is Ghost Poet, and he'll also be performing at the Six Music Festival up in Tyneside. So here it is, a song from him, from his 2011 album, and the track is called Survive It. This is Ghost Poet. That was Ghost Poet and Survive It. I'm out doing some shows at the moment, and in my band I have an incredibly talented drummer called Chris Vattalaro. He's played with many people, and one band that he has played with are Antibalas. Antibalas are on one of my favourite labels, Daptone, and so this song is from them. It's called Dirty Money, and this is Antibalas. Great musical duos of our time. Sly and Robbie, Simon and Garfunkel, Ant and Dec, and there was one in that record there, John Martin and Danny Thompson. Incredible musical output from both of them. It was Go Down Easy off Solid Air. Now, recently I was asked to put together a playlist of music in odd time signatures. I have to admit, initially my heart sank a bit when I saw the request, but then digging around, found some real gems, actually, one of which is by Björk. It's Crystalline, and evidently, for those who are interested, this is in 17/8, which sounds like rather an awful lot of notes to me. But here it is. It's Björk and Crystalline. there you go, just what you want for a peaceful Sunday afternoon. That was the marvellous Björk and Crystalline. Now, this year sees the return of one of Oxford's finest, actually, namely Ride. I remember when Radiohead was still on a Friday, actually, we watched on as Ride took off with a little bit of envy. We went on to change our name to Radiohead, and I'm not so sure if that didn't have something to do with us actually coming just before them in the racking in record shops. Not that we're petty or anything. But anyway, it's going to be fantastic to see them back live again this year. And this, for me, is one of my favourite songs of theirs, off their album Tarantula, produced by John Leckie. This song is called Leave Them All Behind.
Philip Selway.
Six Music.
Keaton Henson has been one of my favourite artists of the past few years, and his song To Your Health has incredible video to accompany it, and if you've not seen it, I'd really recommend finding it on YouTube. Basically, the scenario for it is Keaton Henson playing the song, so it's just him and a guitar in a warehouse with this incredible dance unfolding in front of him. It's a soloist from a Royal Ballet called Elizabeth Harrod who's dancing, and it turns out actually that it's Keaton Henson's mother, Marguerite Porter, who has choreographed it all. I mean, generally, you'd think if you're doing a video and you said your mum's choreographed it, you'd kind of just shuffle and look a bit awkward. But in this case, it's fantastic, and she's an incredible choreographer. So this song is called To Your Health, and it's Keaton Henson. That was Keaton Henson and To Your Health. And now, Caribou has to be, well, it's Dan Snaith, has to be one of the hardest working people I know in music, actually. Very talented, and released his new album last year. And one of my favourite tracks off the record was Can't Do Without You. And so here it is, Caribou. That was Rufus Thomas and Walking the Dog. Now, last time Radiohead were out touring, which was back in 2012, we had a double drummer set up. So there was myself and Clive Deemer as well. He's been one of my favourite drummers over the years, and he drummed with Ronnie Size, with Robert Plant, but I think what most people will best know him for is work with Portishead, and this next song is off their third album, and it is called The Rip. That was Portishead and The Rip. I've really been fascinated by watching this next artist, watching how she's developed her own particular sound and style over the course of her albums. She's Wala Molina. She started out as a comic actress, very successful one, in South America. And over the course of the albums, she started to experiment with live looping as she was playing. And she found something which just feels very particular to her. Now, this track that I'm going to play is off her fourth record called Son. And it's almost as if she'd reached the destination that she'd be working to over all those records. She found her sound on this one. And this song is called Michael. That was 1979 by the Smashing Pumpkins. I played Ride earlier on in the show, one of Oxford's finest. Another one of them is Gaz Coombs. Always been a fantastic songwriter, great performer, and rather sickeningly all-round lovely person as well. So he has a single out at the moment called 2020, and he will also be playing at the Six Music Festival up in Tyneside. So here it is, 2020 by Gaz Coombs.
This is Philip Selway.
On BBC Radio
6 Music.
This next song I came to through the film Christian F. David Bowie was very instrumental in the soundtrack on that film, and watching that film led me to his album Low. It just, at the time, made a huge impact on me because, you know, he messed about with the song structures in there, just had all these little snippets of music in there, song fragments in there as well. I suppose it opened up what an album could be and what an album could become. And the fact that he was just pushing himself creatively and always moving on, which I think is a good lesson to learn, really. So this is a song off that record. It's called Sound and Vision by David Bowie. That was David Bowie and Sound and Vision. Well, that's nearly it for this week. All that's left for me is to shut up shop and play you the last song. I'm Philip Selway. Thank you for listening to the show today. Next week, you will find Paul Smith of Maximo Park here in this chair. So, nothing more to do than take your partners for the last dance. This is a very beautiful song from Roberta Flack. It's called The First Time Ever I Saw Your Face. Bye. Take care.